The officer picked up the candy that had fallen on the ground and stuffed it into the soldier's mouth. The soldier felt deeply humiliated but dared not speak up or resist because he had already planned to defect. Late at night, after everyone had fallen asleep, he quietly slipped out of the camp through a ventilation shaft and crawled into a tunnel he had dug in advance, carefully crossing over the fence until he finally reached the minefield. He used a wooden stick to mark the position of each landmine and drew a map to avoid the danger. Staring at the border just ahead, his eyes filled with hope. Just then an explosion suddenly rang out. A wild boar had triggered a landmine, fearing his position would be exposed. The soldier had no choice but to rush back to the camp. The next day he forged a pass and slipped into the officer's office, using a thin pen to pry open the cabinet and stamp the document. He then observed the camp with binoculars and realized that leaving through the main gate was the safest option. So he helped a drunk officer into a vehicle and drove toward the gate, pretending to be the driver. Halfway there, the officer suddenly woke up. The soldier broke out in a cold sweat, but the officer only asked for water and he handed it over immediately. In this way, the soldier successfully drove out of the camp, leaving the officer behind in the wilderness. Not long after, the car ran out of fuel. Meanwhile, military pursuers were closing in to avoid being captured. The soldier ran with all his strength and finally jumped into a river to escape. He made his way near the border and called the contact responsible for helping defectors. At that moment, the officer caught up with him. The soldier turned and ran but was struck by a gunshot. Enduring the intense pain, he kept moving forward because as long as he crossed that border, he would survive. The officer fired again. The soldier reached out in desperation and touched the borderline. Only when his fingers crossed did he finally relax. Just then, several armed border guards rushed over. The officer glanced at him silently, then turned and walked away.